Good evening all from the RAEL organization. Just at the rehab here. That is a small part of the organization, and yeah, that is where we live. A little bit late tonight, but everybody wants patience, but nobody likes waiting. And I suppose, how's it, Clutchy? How's it, Bubbles? I check Bubbles popped up there. How's it, Ora, Leslie? Hello there, Lee J, all the way in the UK. And yeah, no, for sure. Everybody wants patience, but nobody likes waiting. So how do we get patience? How do we get clean? Everybody wants money, or everybody wants what they want. But there's things that you have to do to get what you want. And I knew by the time I hit the end of my road. Good evening, Michelle. Oh, the names are coming up quite quick. Evening, Auntie Connie. How's it, Taryn? And I knew by the time that I came to my end of my road, I knew I knew what I wanted, and it wasn't the life that I was living. But I think probably the last 4 or 5 years in my addiction, I didn't want that life anymore. But I didn't know how not to live that life. I so badly wanted to stop, yet I was caught in the circle of addiction, hurting those around me. How's it, Dad? How's it, Mom? And desperately not wanting to be like that anymore. Some of us call it the gift of desperation. There's a short sort of version to that as well. When you get to a point where you sorry, where you just can't and don't want to anymore. And some say the gift of desperation is God, and that's where you get the gift from. And that's usually when your pain of feeling like you feel and what you're going through starts exceeding, is more than the fear of changing or the fear of the unknown, because that's usually what we fear when we come into recovery. It's easier to stay in the familiar and stick to what you're doing than what it is to actually change. How's it, Claire? Sorry, guys. A bit chesty. It's not corona, I promise. And if I could make it through heroin addiction, then corona's not a joke, but we have to stay positive. As long as our drug tests aren't positive, then I'm alright. But yeah, so I was a little bit later this evening, couple of minutes, but I was just busy sort of preparing myself, and I knew that most of you guys would be late, because it's a human trait that all of us need to work on. And that's what addicts suffer from. Addicts suffer from a lot of human traits that go to the extreme. When it's when you mix me with drugs, then it's all those bad traits to the extreme. And then the mistakes become escalated and bigger. I become more self-centered. I'm either paranoid, and I walk into a room full of people, I think they're all looking at me and talking about me in that extreme, that I feel paranoid and I need to light a cigarette or start biting my nails or whatever it is to feel comfortable. Or I walk into a room full of pride and I think it's all about me. Instead of finding the balance and being humble and realizing that we are all just the sort of same, and And that's what we need in addiction recovery, because addiction is the greatest equalizer. Maybe nowadays it's the COVID virus, but I believe addiction is the greatest equalizer. It doesn't that's nice, Hannes. That's good. I've always said that, because it doesn't matter if you're a painter, a plumber, a businessman, or a lawyer, or even a chef. If addiction's going to get you, it's got you, then it's going to take you. And sometimes it happens slowly, sometimes it happens quickly. Sometimes by the age of 22 or 23, even earlier than that, life becomes unmanageable, and it's not as easy to juggle normal life and things like that. And sometimes we see oaks that it's only caught up with to in their 40s, late 40s, 50s. But eventually, if you're abusing something, it's gonna catch up with you. And the thing with people like myself is that this whole thing with this dacha being legal, it throws a whole nother spin on things, because it's socially acceptable. So is booze, so is methadone, so is all the other Schedule 6 medication. It's just not illegal. But I can't have that stuff, because it makes me high, and it hits a switch on inside me that once it starts, it doesn't stop. So what has happened to me? Sometimes it's genetic, sometimes it's from overusing, sometimes it can be from various reasons. But when something's got you, like it's got you, then it's going to take you down. So an addict is usually somebody that has crossed what we like to call the invisible line. No matter how much cuck I'm causing, no matter how much I need to pay the bills, the drugs or the drink comes first. And I lose my ability to control. When I know that I need to do A, B, and C, then I rather do D, which is drugs. So, and that is where your decision making starts messing around with you, and some of the stories and that I've told is it's all drug induced. At least I can sit here today and I can say that I have an excuse. And but in the society we live in today, there's so much socially acceptable things that we're raising the next generation to believe that this is the correct way of living. Like dacha being legal, like households that drink on Fridays and Saturdays ritualistically. It becomes the norm, and we always say kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. And at the moment where we're at, obviously the prevention is always better than cure, because the way to do, or one of the ways to do addiction recovery, is to create a lifestyle for yourself where it is easier for you to not use. Because I was rehab in, rehab out, rehab in, rehab out, promise this, promise that, I'm going to stop. And God alone knows, obviously I wanted to, but I needed the guidance and the direction. And, one of the insane things that I used to do is, in this weather like it is now, I had somebody living in my area, and I was working in a place in Pardon Island. And I'd start pretty early in the morning, and there was another person that used to only work early shifts that lived in my area, and we would I'd be offered a lift, and I would be starting work at 6 in the morning, and instead of taking a lift to work from Boeresig at about 5:15, I would leave at about 4:15 in the morning and walk through to the location, either the location or through to Summer Greens, so that I could actually function and get my fix. Now that time of the morning, there's people that that live in shacks, that have been drinking and partying and doing drugs the whole night. There's people that are living in poverty that will kill you for a cigarette. There is people that are just on the chase to get whatever they can from anybody who's got anything. And you know, obviously you're putting your life at risk, and those are some of the insane things that I would do. And thinking about it now, it's obviously, it must be God's grace in some of the situations that I've been in. It has to be. There's no real other explanation. And oh, that's a very good question, Keenan. You actually throw my whole train of thought sort of off. But Keenan's asking, I would like to know, how do you deal with family that don't understand the impact of their manners and ways they treat a recovering addict? First of all, the recovering addict's responsibility is his responsibility. And you know what? If no matter what relationship it is, whether it's my mother, my brother, my cousin, my sister, whatever it is, if it's toxic, it's my responsibility to cut it off. And on the other hand, if what they say, we call it a family illness, that that everybody plays their part in it. And the thing is that I encourage you to maybe read the chapter on two wives and the family afterward. It's in the AA Big Book. It tells you there about only being able to control yourself, and it's also it explains there that sometimes the wives of alcoholics and addicts would like to wrap them up in cotton and protect them and sort of house them and keep them in their safe little environment and things like that. But I guarantee you, addiction, the way addiction works is that even if you go to Iceland, you're going to bump into an Eskimo with something to make you warm. That is just the way addiction works. And you know, with I always tell the guys here that there's one of my character defects is being scullum, or finding a shortcut in anything, in everything, whether it's a computer system, whether you guys heard some of the stories of when I was in prison for housebreaking, and I was working at the warden's restaurant, and I found a way around the system, not only to smuggle drugs in, which is insane, but to do my own voids on the system. Matric, I found an easier, quicker way to do matric. I left at the beginning of 9, and luckily my parents helped me, but I only wrote the matric exams early the next year, and I still passed. So I just studied the past exam papers. To become a chef, I done my first year, and by one of the recruitment places where they place you, I found a way to actually get a job there instead of doing free in-service training. And so I can keep naming ways of shortcuts and all of that. And what I opened up with is patience. Is one of the biggest things that people and human beings, and especially recovering addicts, because you smoke a pipe, you pull it, you get that instant gratification. It's different to working a whole month or a whole year before you take that holiday and go on whatever. If you're adrenaline junkie, okay, you can't go to Ratang anymore because it's sort of stuffed like the rest of the country. But yeah, no matter how stuffed the country is, we can still enjoy ourselves and we can still feel whole, because the outward shouldn't determine how the inward feels, man. So what I'm saying is that patience is a big thing in recovery, because there isn't a glitch in the system, Keenan. there is always literature, and there is always somebody that has been through and that can relate to what you about to go through. What we do is when we read the gist for today, is when we read the literature, when we speak to another addict, when we take another parent's call about them wanting to tell us their story, when we stop and have a 5-minute conversation with the oak at the robot, then we ensure ourselves, we put another brick in our foundation for our recovery. When we constantly work on ourselves, all those things that you do sometimes that feel like it's a lust. Now those things that feel lustig are the things that would keep you sober. When another addict or alcoholic phones you at 3 o'clock in the morning looking for help, for a 12-step call, and wants somebody to speak to, you going to him in hope that he will get sober. But ultimately, you doing that service work is what is keeping you sober. And that's what we do here and that's how you get rid of the selfishness and self-centeredness that goes along with addiction. So it takes a little bit longer than just hitting the pipe and getting that sort of instant feeling. That is all just a con. And the reason why I know the literature the way I do is because I've tried to con the system so many times. Because the cleverer the person, you don't need to be clever to recover from drugs. Because sometimes the cleverer the person, the cleverer the addict inside the person. So if you're a witty oak with a lot of brains and you're slim and you think you're clever or whatever, that same addiction, you're fighting that addiction that is inside yourself, which you need to be one up on all the time. Because I promise you that it's waiting around the corner for you. It's waiting for you. And you can try and run to different provinces. You can go wherever you want to. You can go to the little dorpies on the side skirts. I promise you there is gangsters and drugs there. I promise you, like I promise. And I'm not allowed to lie anymore, because it's an honest program. And that's what it says in the literature, that you can run, and we wanted a way out of this problem. And I was looking for a way out of this problem the whole time, and everywhere I was going, I was taking this problem with me, because I was the problem. I blamed rehabs, which to a certain extent, don't get me wrong, today I do still blame a lot of them. Because had I been given the right information the first time, maybe I wouldn't have been ready for that information and to process it and live it. But if I was, maybe it would have been different. But it wasn't different. And thank God I'm alive to share that it is different now. And it can be different for anybody. So what I'm trying to say is that we all want patience, but nobody wants to wait. We all want to build different character traits, but we don't want to go to rehab, or we want to do it this way, or we want to do it that way, or we want to sit on the couch and dictate to the loved ones that are trying to help us when we're tearing the household to shreds. Just my way. And we see it all the time, not because it's bad people that come through the doors, but because it's addicted people, and that's the nature of addiction. And like I said, the nature of addiction is mostly just very escalated bad human traits. Addiction makes those traits come out. And the race and the run that we run for recovery, if it's going to be me or you, I try and think of it, if it's me or you getting that last fix, and I reverse it. If it's me or you that's gonna do our recovery and stay alive, I'm kicking you out of the bus. But we find today with the more with the lower generations that come in, that there's extreme laziness. There isn't a motivation. There isn't goals and dreams anymore. Most of the oaks, and computer work isn't bad, but most of the oaks that walk through the doors are either IT specialists, or they want to become YouTubers or famous TikTokers or whatever the cuck is that they do nowadays. But or they want to grow weed, you know what I mean? Grow something that that people smoke, and at the moment most of the schizophrenia diagnosis and mental illness that you find that goes along with addiction recovery comes from that. That's kind of insane, man. That's kind of insane. Because of the socially acceptable shit. And that's the way it goes here, is that I messed my life up so badly that I first needed somebody else to manage my life. And that is what RAEL done perfect for me to be able to rebuild myself. Excuse me, I think when the guys come into a recovery center, they don't get babied, but they need to be taught from the beginning again, so that there's no loopholes in the system. You need to be taught from when you open your eyes up in the morning. That is why it doesn't really work outside there for somebody to get sober. It works in some cases. But I'm not in that state going to listen to my mother. No, Isabel. The world statistics say that 1% of heroin addicts will come right. We've proven obviously different here at RAEL. But to come right on your own, he's either going to get addicted to the detox meds, or he's going to start using detox meds and heroin. And I'm speaking out of experience now, out of my own experience. That just prolongs it. You need to get away from the environment where somebody else can manage your life for you, and there's a set of boundaries and rules, and not people that's going to enable you and pussyfoot around you. That's what these counselors do. You know, we have many situations, normal real life situations, because at this center we teach you how to deal with life, man. We teach you how to have fun. We teach you that there's a time for this and there's a time for that, and how to prioritize, how to get life skills, and how to live life on life's terms without drugs. How's it, Daryl? And when you add a line, we tell you, before it's forgotten about, we nip it in the bud. So I needed my life to be managed by somebody else. And that is obviously where Mr. Hall came in, and with a program that he's lived and tweaked and developed and changed certain parts of it according to his experience with his own addiction and working with others. And you know, your life needs to be managed from the time you wake up in the morning sometimes to the time you go sleep at night. And we run a full day program, because we're very sensitive in the beginning. Very, very sensitive. And time management needs to be taught, and priorities. So what do I do most of the time when you go down to a certain level in addiction? You stop brushing your teeth, you stop washing your face, because the first thing that you do when you get out of your bed is you don't need to change your clothes, because you wake up in the clothes that you slept in. You pull on your shoes and you skim where you're going to get a fix from. And that becomes normal to you, because that's what you've been practicing for the last few years. Or to me. And that is what became normal to me. So it wasn't only the fight for the want of the drug in my mind, it was the habit and the routine that I was in that needed to change. It was the way that I processed things that needed to change. It was I needed to shut up and put my own thoughts aside. Because after all, my best thinking got me to the streets. It got me to prison. It got me to a lower scale on addiction. And in this weather that the Cape Townians have had today, trucks blowing over and whatever else, I promise you, if I was in active addiction, I would have walked over that bridge in this weather today for a fix. And that is where addicts in recovery have become wusses. Because if I can do that for my drug, why can't I do it for my life, man? But rehabs have become this place where almost like a holiday. If you're on medical aid, you can go there once a year for 3 weeks at a time because that's what the medical aid covers. And you can go have your bacon and eggs in the morning. There's a cleaning lady that makes up your bed, but it's not like that over here. Because you tell me which addict that has been low down on the scale, that really wants recovery, that has been given the gift of desperation, is going to be able to practice and live a life like that when they just walk out of a rehab and they've been on drugs for 10 or 20 years. How are they going to pay the maid if they've been stealing everybody else's stuff for drugs? Thanks, Carl. Stuyvesant Blue. Dagga is legal at the moment and cigarettes are not. It's another act of insanity. So we come into rehab and you know, we put a suggested program of 6 months on our application forms and things like that. We recommend 2 years, to be honest with you, because our best results come out of a year or more. And what happens is, when is an addict really ready? You can't put a 6-month mark on it the day you walk in here, because you still need to discover what is wrong with you. I didn't even know who I was by the time that I walked in here. I knew how I had lived. I knew that there was something inside me that wanted more drugs all the time, or had to have more drugs even though I didn't want them anymore. But I didn't know who I really was. And when we start doing the program, and Mr. Hall gives us a sort of set of godly morals to weigh our past up against, to see if we've been living a life that's acceptable to ourselves or not. And we go on this journey of discovery to see, to find out and see who we really are. And we were saying to the guys today on the program that if you don't have a set of morals and values to sort of weigh your past behavior up against, then how do you know where the guidelines are? Why, for that lady that asked about the heroin addict, can he do it by himself? I don't believe so. I really don't. I've never seen it done before. I've been in prison with heroin addicts. I've lived with heroin addicts. I've done heroin with heroin addicts, and I've been in rehabs with heroin addicts. And I'm a manager of a recovery center that deals with heroin addicts. And not because it is a different addiction or a different class drug, it is already a possible little bit more of a struggle. than some of the other addictions. All based on the same thing, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And so that's right, Garth. You need to ask yourself who you are. Who are you? And who do you want to be? But we need people along the path, like recovery centers, like RAEL, to get us there. Because which person that is an addict today, when they were little, said, when I grow up one day, I want to be a heroin addict, or I want to be an alcoholic? Okay, you never know in today's world. Didn't we all want to be firemen and Superman and policemen and some men wanted to be women and other men wanted to be men, but we all wanted to be something, but we didn't want to be failures. I got to a point where I said, all I want to do is get life right. And so it starts off in the morning. And it's very difficult in the beginning. And that's what I was saying about not being able to do it by yourself. I used to set these weird boundaries for myself. I used to tell my girlfriend, lock me in the house and take the keys with you. Because inside me, I desperately really wanted to stop. It would get to 10, 11 o'clock in the day. Then I'm searching the house if I don't have money. Then I'm searching in the house what I can take to make some money. Or I'm turning the burglar bars off to actually get out, to go to the dealer. I've turned burglar bars off to get in houses as well though. But that was for drugs. And so I needed to relearn how to live life, and that's what Mr. Hall teaches here at RAEL. That is what I've been taught, and I've got the privilege of teaching other people now. But if I'm gonna sit down next to them on the bed, and when they're trying to manipulate or trying to con me or get their way, and I pat them and I say, it's going to be okay, my boy. Just lie down for a bit and put your feet up. Then we're going to lose the battle. Then we're going to lose the battle. There needs to be that bit of something inside the person, inside the addict. And that's how we call it the gift of desperation. Because you'll be surprised at what you can do when there's like-minded people around you. When you're fixated on your next fix, when you wake up in the morning and you're in a recovery center surrounded by like-minded people, then it becomes a little bit easier. Surely people can see the results for themselves. So I was down on my off time on the weekend, and we all know how bad it's getting. There's people standing at the Edgemead robots already. There's people standing on almost every bridge. And yeah, for sure, I probably enable the guys when I give them something, or give them a bit of money. Or give them a bit of food. But they know where I've been, most of them, man. And I try and show them that I'm not trying to feed your addiction. I'm trying to show you where and how life can be. So on my return to the farm, I'm driving up the gravel road, and I was thinking about the mornings that when we used to go on our morning walk, because it's a lovely morning walk here that we go on, obviously because the physical is also part of recovery, and between the Breda Valley Mountains and things over here. And I was thinking how I used to walk down that road with all this pain inside of me, almost struggling to take every next step sometimes, looking around me thinking that life is gone, thinking that it's just another couple of walks up and down the gravel road, and then it's just going to all end again, because I didn't believe that I could stop drugs anymore by the time that I had gotten here. So it's a process. So I thought, okay, geez, I was shitting myself for when 6 months came, thinking, yo, I haven't gotten this right before. I've tried so many times. And the people around you here, they encourage you. There's hope around us. Hearing the stories that you know, like Junior's story that we heard the other night, like Graham's story, like Carl's story, like Richie, like Garth, like Clutchy, Gladwin. A lot of oaks that came through the door. Justin, Big J, Freddie Cars, lots of the oaks. And obviously by the time you were a newcomer on the program, these oaks have developed and moved forward a little bit. And you look and you check like, hey, how did these guys get there? If they can, I can. Because over here we're not focused on how much drugs you used, who you knew, who you bought your drugs from, and your old life. We're interested in how can we help you get a new life. And yeah, like in the movie A Million Little Pieces, I call this my crazy family as well. Because we have fun here. We are close-knit of guys that welcome other guys in. Because at the end of the day, it's all about love in a certain way. A special sort of weird bond that one addict can best understand another addict and what he's been through and what he's about to go through and how it's going to be, and advise him on the way forward. So we always tell the guys that if they got a picture in their mind of how it's going to be when they leave here in, say for example, 6 months time, and they fixated on that 6 months, even the oaks that stay here longer, when that 6 months day comes, they trip out. But when are you really ready? You take it as it comes, man. When you're busy getting the first parts of the program right, and we give you a little bit more responsibility, we teach you how to live life outside there. And we experienced enough to see through our own experience and through working with people experience, when we tell somebody that they're not ready and they don't listen, then we either become the bad people and the parents take their side, and a month later when the shit hits the fan, or sometimes a week later, when they don't want to listen, parents think they sometimes after a long time, what is happening? My kid is just sitting in rehab. Because social acceptability and success is about making money. Recovery isn't about making money. Recovery is learning to live life on life's terms first. A job and a car and a house doesn't equal recovery. Those things I could get if I stole a lot and worked a lot and done a lot of fraud and a lot of drugs at the same time. I could get those things. But that doesn't equal recovery. Because there was never peace inside of me when I was doing those things. Now I have peace inside of me. It doesn't matter who does what to me. It doesn't matter what time of the month it is. I don't get my monthlies, but there's obviously different times of the month that when you're a bit richer than other times of the month. That doesn't determine my peace. The peace comes from inside because I've dealt with the things that I've done. And you can't do that in 3 weeks if you've been numb for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in some cases. Some cases even longer than that. So you can't deal with a whole lifetime's worth of shit and hurt and things that you've done in 3 weeks or 3 months sometimes. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Because if even the non-addicts, if you're honest with yourself tonight, how long does it take you to get over a resentment sometimes, or a breakup, or a loss of a loved one? Now, those are all the things that an addict needs to do to stay spiritually clean all the time. So I evaluate my whole life story. I go back as far as possible. I look for acts of insanity where I've repeated the same things. And you kind of get to the conclusion that, for example, tit for tat is insane because you keep on getting the same result. You keep on getting the result of being hurt or guilty or angry or planning a murder when you're lying in bed at night. And at the end of the day, I'm busy hurting myself doing that because I'm spiritually unclean. They say resentment's like me drinking the poison expecting the other person to be poisoned. So to come back to that question about, the guy asked me a question here about how do you deal with the family and what they've done and all of that. All you can do is by you doing the next right thing will happen. You need to work on people pleasing. You can't save your ass and your face at the same time. And that's exactly what it is, Daryl. It's a lifetime degree. It's each day is new. We do what we have to. Sometimes it becomes mundane. Sometimes it can become frustrating, the things that you have to do. But at least I've got those things that irritate me and that I've got to complain about today that I never had before. The other day I went to the petrol station and I thought, okay, I haven't taken a dog for a walk for quite a long time. I was down in Cape Town at home, and the dog drove with me just round to the petrol station, and she was on the front seat. And when the guy wanted to wash the windows with that squeegee, then she obviously checked him through the window. And as he pulled the thing, or as he came towards the window, she jumped against the windscreen and cracked the windscreen. It made like a big crack there, spider web. And I was all pissed off and cross and angry and whatnot. And then I realized, hey, hold it, it's done already. Being pissed off is only harming myself. It's making me all tense and all this kind of shit. And you know what? Each day clean is a day one. A while ago, I didn't have a windscreen or a car to complain about. I was living on the streets, with no teeth in my mouth. I got my nice new bottom teeth on my way up to the farm the other day. And even when they were pulling those last teeth a while ago, 2 months ago, it was an emotional moment for me, because it was something that my bottom teeth were all broken. I didn't have any top teeth left for them to pull. And it was all part of the damage that was done by drugs. But I was feeling good, but each time I looked in the mirror or whatever, I would see broken and black teeth, and there's a lot of pain over the years. I mean, most people know toothache. And it was something that I always promised myself I'm going to get done. And it was like a tooth at a time. And just as I lay there on that dentist chair that Dr. Rihanna organized for me, thank you very much, doctor, that I have a beautiful smile, or a more beautiful smile now. And yeah, I lied there, and I thought about, it's those kinds of small things that we learn to appreciate, that you get to a point of, and I'm lying there and I'm thinking to myself, how many times have I broken that promise to myself? Hey, I'm going to go to the dentist, or I'm going to get this sorted or that sorted, and then just went to the dealer instead, or just made a plan to get to the dealer, because that's what we lived for. Thanks, Felicity. It's with the help of RAEL and a little bit of motivation and oomph in myself, Mr. Hall's guidance, and obviously and definitely the doctor that works alongside us, Dr. Rihanna. I must say thank you to her as well, and the doctor that done it in not in Panorama. It's in Bellville, just after Bellville, I think. Very good dentist. And and I was lying there, and it was an emotional moment for me, because I asked myself, how many things haven't I promised myself I'm going to do? And addiction stole that away from me. How blessed am I to be having all of this done? How blessed am I to feel the way I feel, without having to have to put substance in my body, without having to have to go to a theme park to get a bit of a kick, or to be excited and feel good about life. And that is the blessing that I have today, is to see somebody come in here completely cracked, broken from the inside out. Because I promise you that the homeless person that you're seeing at the robots, or pushing the trolley or whatever, probably looks worse on the inside than what he does on the outside. And that is how recovery works. Recovery actually works from the inside out. So I think maybe tonight's theme word would sort of be patience, maybe. Patience, motivation, and you have to want it. I'll give you some recovery cliches. It works if you work it. No, I'm talking shit now. It does work if you work it. But it needs to be taught right, first of all. And by the right people. Second of all, you need to be honest with yourself. They say the how of recovery is honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. You can't grasp a new idea on a closed mind. The honesty is I need to be honest with myself first. I need to be honest with myself. I see Mr. Hall has just come in from a meeting with the guys over there, because the recovery center is what keeps us sober and what keeps us alive. Because can you imagine the satisfaction? I know the satisfaction Mr. Hall must have gotten to see me come from dead to alive. If I get that same satisfaction out of seeing guys come here turn from dead to alive. Definitely, Daryl. Love is the key. And honest open-mindedness and willingness. The willingness has to come from me. I need to lose my old ideas and be willing to try somebody's ideas that has been through it and is making it. The willingness has to be there. Because remember, I suffer from a disease or illness, a brain illness that tells me that I don't have an illness. That's correct, Daryl. Humble, humility. Humility is teachability. Teachability is the willingness to learn. So I need to be honest with myself. And that's what it comes down to. Sometimes it takes a very long time before an addict that's suffering from something that tells him that he doesn't have, or that he doesn't have a problem, or that he can handle it. Sometimes it takes a while. So as the recovery goes on, and I must say that Mr. Hall is the most humble man I've ever met. I was lucky enough that the streets and drugs had humbled me, because when I was 21, I thought I knew everything. When I was at 22, I knew more than everything, and I was so arrogant I didn't envy anybody, because in my mind I didn't even see them. I couldn't learn from anybody because I had all the answers. And when I got to 30, completely stuffed up from drugs, I thought that they had changed all the questions. Which they did. And then I came here to learn the answers. And I still learn every day. So I don't know if Mr. Hall wants to say anything this evening. But I think a big part of what I was trying to say is the patience. And as life straightens out, now, Mr. Hall said now that he spoke quite a bit there in the meeting with the guys. Evening meetings where the guys relate to each other and grow together, and Mr. Hall points out their rights and wrongs. And always their wrongs so that we can learn from it. Because if I don't know any different and I don't have anybody telling me, how am I going to know that I'm wrong? So, as the guys balance out, as they start getting life right over here, when it becomes second nature to brush your teeth in the morning and wash your face and make your bed up, and all the things that goes along with just first basic survival, then we add a little bit to the scale, because when you get here, your scale is like this, completely out of zinc. You can't live on or off drugs. And as we go along, we need to be patient and not forget where we come from. The new guys walking in here, those are the guys that remind us where we come from. It's only by grace that we're not there. And without those guys, I would forget where I've been. So I just want to remind everybody that, thanks Lee J, that tomorrow is Orange Friday. It's our free weekly campaign. Just to wear orange ribbon or orange anything. First of all, to remove the stigma of addiction. Because a lot of people still, I'll take myself as an example. When you say the word addict, or when I walk around in my area, look down on me. I'm not recognized as a sick person. I'm recognized as a bad person in a lot of people's eyes. But that's their opinion, it's fine. And sure, they've also made one or two mistakes in their life. Just maybe wasn't as life-threatening as mine. But that's a good one, Mr. Hall. If you didn't make me, you can't break me. So by God's grace tonight, I'm sitting on the RAEL farm with Mr. Anthony Hall, Graham, and a couple of guys in the program. And instead of standing around a galley blick, burning crates and wood that we found in the bush, sitting by a nice fireplace because my life has changed. And it's just to give anybody hope out there that yours can also change. I come from what they call jail, dirty needles, vomit and robbery. And my life is very different now. I worked for drugs and the drugs stopped working for me when I was working. So thank you all. It's a reminder, like I was saying, we run a campaign that's called Orange Friday. And usually, you know, a lot of households are alright until Friday. And you can see more of that on our Orange Friday journal pages. And we can all post our orange pics and things like that. Can tag myself and Mr. Hall in it. And Lee J. And let's carry this message, people. That anybody like myself can recover. But not alone. Not alone. Alright. Good evening all. We'll keep you updated during the day tomorrow. On our Orange Friday page, we will be sharing. And hope to see you there with your orange pics. If you don't want us to see you, you can wear an orange mask. And what I think maybe Mr. Hall will speak a couple of words tomorrow night. So thank you all for watching, and we kindly ask you to share this message, not because it has my face on it, but just because it has the face of hope on it, that anybody can recover. Thank you very much. God bless.